And today's best advice is control the controllables. Don't think that controllables is a real word, but you know what I'm saying. Control the things that you can control. I was recently reminded of this because, as you know, I'm a South Carolina Gamecock fan, and we lost to our rivals yesterday, the Clemson Tigers. It's a very terrible game, very anticlimactic. Just wasn't a game that, most games you're like, man, that was a good game, even though you won or you lost. We lost, and I felt like it was one of those games that both teams should have lost. We should have tied. No one deserved to win that game, because if you take away, we gave a touchdown away. You're talking about a 9-7 game. The final score, had we not blundered and gave a touchdown to the Tigers, we would have been a 9-7 final. That's just disgusting. However, what made me think about this is there was, in times past, and I think even to date, watching that game impacts my emotion for the next day. So I've been in this rivalry where we've won, I've been a butthole, and I remember one time I took a newspaper to church, like with the headlines, and was all in Clemson fans' face. It's disgusting. I'm sad to even think that I did some foolery like that. But I've been excited when we've won, and over exuberant. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I've been very sad. And for days after the loss, I'm moping and feeling away. And I don't catch a pass. I don't hike a ball. I don't call a play. I can't. And being a sports fan is a very interesting concept. It's very, it's wild. It's wild to be a fan of a team, but I cannot control the outcome of the game. So therefore, I need to be able to control the controllables. I need to understand that I'm going to watch this game, and win, lose, or draw, I'm going to move forward in life with the same determination, the same goals, the same, whether we won, whether we lost, what. I can't be inhibited by the performance of a team that I'm not even on the team. I don't go to practice. I don't sit in on the meetings. And so I think that's what led me to this best advice ever: to control the things that you can control. Control the controllables. Well, you might say, Mike, how do I do that? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. First thing, you have to identify what is even within your control. What is within your control? There's some things that you don't have no control over. And those things are things that you should just wash your hands of. Like, I have no control over how many interceptions our quarterback's going to throw. My cheering, my fan support, that quarterback, Spencer Rattler, whoever the person is, has going to have to go out there and execute and compete. So just be able to identify what you can control. There's the poem, the serenity prayer, right? Give me the ability to, the things that I can control and the things I can't, let me not be worrying about those things. Identify before you, one of the ways that you can control the controllables is to first identify what you actually can control. The next thing you can do is accept the things that are beyond your control. There's just some things that are beyond my control, and I have to be fine with that. And I think that's how you can control the controllable. Next thing is you would adapt and learn from setbacks. Setbacks will happen. Things won't go the way that you plan. You have to adapt. You have to make adjustments. You have to figure out, how can I learn a lesson from this setback and not allow this setback to set me out or set me down or to put me out of the game. Just learn to make the adjustments and then learn what lessons are important for you to move forward. And the last thing that I think is vitally important, I think Eric E.T. the hip hop preacher talks about it all the time. You have to practice self-awareness. You have to practice self-awareness. I've understood the older that I get. There's sometimes in life that you feel like, oh, that's just who I am. Like, no, man, there's a pattern in place. And if I'm not aware that these particular things trigger this type of response for me, I'm just gonna keep doing this over and over again. So out of practice, oh, whenever this happens, I start to feel like, okay, I'm watching this great show, and one of the main characters basically had a scenario in her life where her mother died, and her father basically said, hey, don't be emotional at the funeral. This is not the day for you to be carrying on you with your emotions. So she internalized that, and instead of like communicating her grief and pain for her mother passing, she started sabotaging other things in her life to feel a way, to feel something, because in a moment where she should be able to express her feelings and how grievous or distressed or sad she is about the passing of her mother, she was told not to do any of that. It was told to shut it down. Don't be in here doing all of that. And so she found other outlets. But had she been aware of this behavior, she would have said, oh, wait a minute. There's a pattern in which anytime something bad happens, I act out in other ways because my father told me that I could not grieve in this moment at a funeral, right? So practice self-awareness. Those are the ways that you can control the controllables. Let me tell you the steps again. Number one, identify what is within your control. Number two, accept what is beyond your control. Number three, adapt and learn from setbacks. And number four, practice self-awareness. And that will help you to control the controllable.